What if the opposite of love isn't actually hate, but the fear of losing that love? And what if the secret to loving more fully is a radical kind of indifference? We people usually think of indifference as not caring, and that usually causes the death of relationships. But today, we are exploring a deeper philosophical indifference that will just make us care more. By the end of this episode, you'll have a new framework for managing daily emotions, reducing stress, and deepening all your relationships. Guys, welcome back to my INFJ Mind Diary. Today, we are going to delve into the paradox of indifference. Let us explore the contradicting concept of how letting go actually allows us to love more. As a person who overthinks most of the time, who feels deeply, who just feeds off energy wherever I go, who love fully, who commit deeply, I always have this dilemma. As much as when I do my research, I go into a rabbit hole. I do the same when I'm overthinking things. I ruminate in the past, I ruminate in the future, and most of the time, I live in my head and I forget the present moment. I'm just floating. I'm somewhere else. Although, yes, you can probably see me if you're with me. You probably see me there, just staring blankly or doing something, but my mind is somewhere else already. As someone who have tried to work on herself for years, I am self-aware of my tendencies to do this, and it's heartbreaking whenever I look back to how I processed things before, how I get depressed, how I get anxious about, it's just inevitable for me. It's who I am before, but in ways I've accepted that fact, and the moment I did, I was able to do something better for myself, for the people around me. Because whether I like it or not, whether I accept or deny, the fact is that whenever I feel that way, whenever I feel negative, whenever I feel down, whenever I feel anxious, depressed, I just drag other people down as well. It reflects on how I interact with them. It wasn't pleasant. Besides that, it just reflects physically. There are times when I just lose hair, literally lose hair, because of overthinking and just the stress out of doing that. I feel my stomach going upside down. I feel my heart pumping much faster. It's just not pleasant for me, and it reflects physically. Yeah, I get sick as well, if it's too much, and it just terrible. So for years I have tried to practice and do something about it, because I'm self-aware. I'm aware that it's not doing me any good. And yeah, the first thing that I've thought about is the impermanence of things. That's where I held myself. I hold on to that thought every time I really stress, and I feel like crying. It makes me cry. Stress makes me cry. I'm very emotional. I try to keep that in mind, that eventually everything will end. I know it sounds morbid and it sounds like um, very negative, but it helped me. It's the impermanence of everything, either good or bad, helped me. And you know what they say about change? It's the only constant thing in this world. So if we just start to realize that all things change, that there is nothing that we can try to hold on to, I think it will make us better humans. As we know, the human mind naturally seeks comfort, predictability, and safety. In relationships, this translates into a powerful, often subconscious craving for permanence and certainty, a desire to freeze the perfect moment and guarantee a specific positive outcome. This is the clinging that becomes the source of stress, anxiety, and depression when reality does what it always does. It shifts. When you're attached to a permanent outcome, which is, the idea of a relationship that it should last forever, that this person I'm with should always be happy, must always be happy. Our mind is constantly projecting into the uncertain future. Every small argument, every unanswered text they do, or every change in a routine is going to be interpreted as a potential threat to the desired permanent state, which is, that relationship must last forever. This constant state of vigilance is the definition of anxiety. As I've told you, as someone who is very sensitive to other people's energy and feelings, maybe it reflects back because my personality type, INFJs are very sensitive to those. We see patterns, we feel just slight changes, and it's just those abstract things, and it's really inevitable for me to feel anxious. I just can't help myself. So yeah, I dread it, but that's just my source of anxiety. So eventually, when the inevitable shift happens, a disagreement, a breakup, or even just a change in a dynamic that's very subtle, I can feel that. And, clinging leads to rumination and regret. It usually does. So instead of accepting an event as a natural transition, as a human being, the mind gets stuck replaying that past, desperately trying to find the mistake that broke the fantasy of permanence. It's just ruminating, overthinking and replaying the past. And this is the seed of depression for us, for me. So generally, clinging makes us try to control the uncontrollable. We spend the energy trying to manage our partner's emotions, control external circumstances, and constantly just monitor the health of the relationship. This is exhausting. It's an exhausting effort, and it's futile. I know that as well. I think you know that as well. Because the attempt to fight the Tao, which is the natural flow of change, just results in massive stress and eventually, yes, burnout. So now we know clinging just doesn't hurt ourselves. It damages the connection that we, in the first place, is trying hard to protect. When we are attached to a specific outcome, our acts of love stop being free gifts, and it instead becomes demands for security. We may subconsciously require our partner to act a certain way, suppress their own needs, or we demand constant reassurance in our head, just to make it in our head that we're in a perfect state. We just wanted to maintain that perfect state, but this suffocates the other person. This gives them the same feeling. The anxiety of the future and the regret of the past keeps us from being fully present with our loved ones right now. We miss the real, imperfect, beautiful moment we have because we are too busy measuring it against a rigid, idealized future in our head. As we know, a relationship that is built on fantasy or permanence is just brittle. It's just gonna fail. We know that ourselves. It shatters when faced with the inevitable reality of life's shifts. There's a lot of this, but it's really the personal growth, actually, that's very critical for me. That's the seed of falling out of love. We will explore that in our next episode, but we will explore more on that. The relationship built on wise indifference, the acceptance that things change, is paradoxically resilient. It bends instead of breaking, as the philosopher Alan Watts pointed out. Our endless seeking of security is itself our fundamental insecurity. The cost of clinging is that we trade the joy of appreciating the limited now, the precious present, for the constant torment of craving an impossible permanent future. So by integrating the Stoic principle of focusing only on what we can control, which is our own loving action, and the Taoist principle of accepting the flow or the impermanence of things, we dismantle the cost of clinging and transform our love into a freer, purer, and less stressful experience. So the Stoic has this psychological exercise called the negative visualization, that binds their two principles, which is the amor fati and the memento mori, together. So this technique, where we can deliberately contemplate potential setbacks, misfortune or losses, not to be morbid or to be negative, but to achieve profound gratitude and resilience in the face of everything, impermanence. Memento mori, which means remember that you must die, is the foundation of this practice. It is the first thing. So it is a simple, honest realization of our own and everyone else's impermanence. As humans, our minds instinctively try to deny or ignore death and loss. It's just painful, guys. But Seneca, a Roman Stoic as well, argued that those who dread the thought of death are actually dreading life. because they are constantly worrying about something inevitable, and this denial is the source of clinging and stress in the first place. So in practice, memento mori is the act of momentarily imagining the loss of something you cherish. It can be our loved one, it can be our health, our possession, or even just the present day we're in right now, the moment we're living right now. So why is this effective? We will instantly feel grateful after, trying to visualize the loss of something. You guys imagine that? So by momentarily pre-losing something in your mind, you return to the present moment with a powerful, almost visceral appreciation for what you still possess. This is the antidote to taking things for granted. You will be moved to love and express fully now because of the finiteness of the opportunity that has just been made real in our head. So once the reality of loss and impermanence is accepted, it leads directly to a kind of wise indifference. The realization that all things are subject to change creates a profound indifference to whether things remain perfect or not. You understand that your ultimate peace cannot be reliant on external factors because all external factors are fickle and temporary. This indifference is not apathy. It is freedom. Since the negative outcome has already been psychologically processed, you are no longer paralyzed by the fear of that loss. You are free to act with courage and love without the heavy burden of attachment to a specific result. So, this is where amor fati gets in. It's the love of fate. So after that negative visualization, we will positively embrace our reality. It's made possible by that psychological work we did. The negative visualization. So amor fati means not just accepting what happens, but actually loving it, willing it to be exactly as it is and has been. It is the ultimate acceptance of the universal flow, which is the Tao. Basically, negative visualization trains you to accept the potential worst case scenario. If you can willingly accept the worst fate, then when a difficult event actually happens, you can meet it with equanimity. And when a positive or neutral event happens, you will just view it as, an unexpected gift instead. You won't take it for granted. So for the Stoic, a setback or a loss isn't a disaster. It's raw material and an opportunity to practice virtue. Patience, courage, and wisdom. Practice that virtue by visualizing and accepting the setback beforehand. You can more easily greet the actual challenge with a resounding, yes, this is what happened, and I will use it to be better. So in short, negative visualization can be our engine that will power, our acceptance of impermanence, which is what memento mori is, which will create a wise indifference that will free us from clinging to any outcome. And it will result us to accept the fate, which is the amor fati. This practice can shift our perspective from seeing life as a fragile possession to be desperately protected, to seeing it as a precious temporary gift to be fully experienced and loved. So the biggest takeaway from today is that we don't have to choose between caring and coping. You can choose to do both. So you will ask, how do we love more fully? Okay, here's the challenge to hopefully make you love more fully, guys. This week, I challenge you to try a deliberate practice of negative visualization to open your heart and free your relationships from demanding permanence. So this exercise will be called a 3-minute gift. The first, we are going to the pre-loss phase. It's going to be a 3-minute pause, once this week. Just once this week, maybe before bed or during your morning coffee. You can take 3 minutes to sit quietly and choose one good thing in your life you're always aware you often take for granted. It could be your working car, your health, a relationship you have with a loved one. So for those 3 minutes, gently and without fear, visualize what it would be like if they're gone suddenly. So the goal here is to simply acknowledge the emptiness of that loss, particular loss. After the 3 minutes, open your eyes and consciously return to your present reality. Notice that the person or that thing is still there. The car is still there, the driver, your health is still good, you're still alive, you're still holding strong. You still have that person in your life. Use that immediate power surge of relief and gratitude as a fuel after that eye-opening thing. Go to the person, message the person, call that person. Stay in that moment or that opportunity and give more love than you did just 5 minutes ago before you start the challenge. So now, after that, your love becomes a gift, not a demand. Because you know how precious and how temporary that opportunity that you're going to make is. So the goal in this isn't about dread. It's about radically valuing our present. So this challenge is to spend this week practicing love with open hands, appreciating every moment as the gift it is, and finally letting go of the exhausting need to control what simply we can't control. Guys, try it and see how much lighter, freer, and more loving your heart can become.